Namaste, I'm Terrell. Welcome to another quick tutorial. This quick tutorial, we're going to focus on the crow pose, one of the most essential poses for you to start mastering, period. If you're really wanting to start arm balancing, floating, pressing into handstands, then you really have to start mastering the crow pose first, and that's what we're going to try and do in this class. So our crow pose. Our crow pose is very similar to our Malasana. And I talk a lot about the Malasana in my 21 days to handstand, as well as the crow pose. There's actually a full class dedicated to the crow pose. And I'm going to try and go a little bit deeper into this tutorial. Now, again, the Malasana is so essential. This is our natural birthing position. This is the natural chair. This is such an important posture because of multiple reasons. We have the ankle extension, we have that quad to core connection, so being able to kind of pin the inner thigh and the quad to your belly. So you can imagine that a crow pose is essentially this, except my back is horizontal to the floor. So watch how I take my Malasana into a crow pose, nice and simple. So I'm in my Malasana. It's the same exact posture as I move into a crow, okay? So it's the exact same thing, except my back is horizontal to the floor. So if you have a hard time with Malasana, then you are gonna struggle with this class. Doesn't mean that you can't perform a lot of the drills that we're about to do, but I highly suggest that you really try and master Malasana first. Again, my hip mobility program as well as my foundations program is going to be really great for that. So really do the best you can to try and get into Malasana comfortably, ankles feel comfortable, and just even sitting here for, again, a few minutes a day should do the trick. And it doesn't mean that if you can't get into Malasana that you can't get into a crow either. So we'll just take a few moments here into Malasana so you can kind of sway side to side. Again, we're really going to want to find more time into this posture, and even just working up to the crow. If you find that you have a hard time with this but you've done the crow before, then you'll notice that as you start training for the crow, you're just going to end up into this posture anyway. So that's why the crow is also really just so great to practice, because you have to start from here. There's a lot of different versions from where and how you kind of enter the crow, but I always like to start from a Malasana position to really just fine tune and feel where I am, feel where my body is. Perhaps some days I feel a little bit tighter in the shins or in the hip, but I want to try and loosen that up before I get into my crow. So just see if you can sway side to side. Beautiful. And from here, I want you to start standing up, so straighten the legs. You should bring your fingertips to the floor. Now, even if you have to bend the knees, keep the fingertips down. I want you to start to bend the knees. Come back into your Malasana, knees into the armpits, and then come back up. Now, if your toes are off to the side in Malasana, that's fine. Just work on getting the toes to come straight out in front of you. As you bend your knees, they come back into the armpit. So continue just back and forth. Straighten, and then back down. Straighten and back down. So compression is really huge as well, getting into the crow. And that's kind of what we're doing here. To progress, see if you can keep the palms to the floor. Now, if you've got blocks, you can go ahead and use the block. For this class, it's only going to be essential for you to have at least one block. And you can place that one block out in front of you if you need it.
but I want you to press into the floor, press the heel of the hand into the floor, bend the knees, draw the knees into the armpits, and then back up. If you're having a hard time with this, just go back to fingertips only, but if you can, try and continue to press the palms deep into the floor, drop back Malasana. Again, keep the breath fluid. Beautiful, we'll go one more. Beautiful. Good. Now this time I want you to bring your feet together, toes touching, heels touching. We're gonna do the same thing. If you need to, just bring it back up, fingertips only. If you can, press the palms deep into the mat, bend the knees, come all the way down, Malasana with feet together, and back up. Maybe this time you can kind of draw the forehead closer to the shins, press, 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 all the way down, and back up. Press, 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 and back up. We'll go one more. Press the palms deep into the mat, all the way down, and back up. Beautiful. Just take a few moments to relax here. Bend the knees if you have to. Just swaying side to side. Beautiful. Good. So a big portion of the crow is really just trying to bring the knee deep into the armpit. So a lot of people will stop just by hooking the knee or the shin onto the elbow, but really to master the crow, you want to be able to bring that knee right into the armpit, and that's how you'll find a better holding position. And over time that will lead to things like crane and your tuck planche or Malasana. So from here, what I'd like for you to do is find that bend into the knees. Here we're separating the feet. Find that bend into the knees. Try and keep the knee into the armpit as you extend the right leg back, and then bring it back forward. And see if you can continue this, just keeping the knee into the armpit. If you can, I want you to drop the back knee. As long as the front knee is into the armpit here. Deep breaths. You don't have to drop the knee, the back knee, but if you can, do so. We'll go one more to each side. Beautiful. Once again, shake it out. Beautiful, and we'll come back into Malasana. So your legs might be tired here, and if you need a break from Malasana, you can always go back and sit onto the glutes and just kind of watch me go ahead as I show you a few of these demos. Now we'll focus on deepening that compression, that spinal compression, which again is going to lead us to finding more stability into our crow pose. So to start, what I'd like for you to do, again, you can keep the toes out for this one. If, again, you're having a hard time with Malasana, just come into that yogi squat position, lifting the heels, and do the same thing that I'm doing here, but with the heels lifted. So if you can, try and keep your heels down. I want you to make two little cool signs, stack one hand over the other, drop your forehead to meet the thumb, and then pull back up. Okay? If that's too easy, take the thumbs away. Keep your heels down the entire time. Tap and tap and tap. Beautiful. If you can, slide your hand underneath and continue without lifting the heels. Now just one fist. Let's go for another 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. So I said try not to lift the heels, but I also did say lift the heels if it is uncomfortable. If you can, stay in Malasana for a long period of time with the heels down, then try and keep those heels down. If you're coming into yogi squat and doing the same thing from yogi squat, well then your heels are already lifted, so don't worry about that. Just eventually try and keep those heels down while you drop the forehead down. So this time what we'll try and do, Not stacking any fists, just placing one hand over the other. Drop the forehead down. Again, do your best not to lift the heels. We'll just aim for 3 if we can. 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. And we can sit back here. Our legs might be screaming at us. Just take a moment, shake the legs out. Whew. So a lot of people think that you need a really high level of strength in order for you to hold a crow pose, which you do need some level of strength, but I would say it would be mobility first, just like your handstand. Mobility first. Without that overhead mobility, you're not going to be able to hold your handstand, and neither with that level of compression and being able to draw your knees into your armpits. So I'd say it's mobility first, then balance, and then strength. So you need the sufficient mobility and the sufficient balance to hold any of the strength that you do have already. So we're going to focus on a little bit of wrist mobility because we do have that hand in extension. So moving into tabletop, I just want you to sway side to side. Beautiful. From here, I want you to start moving front to back while keeping your chest as far away from the mat as you can. Dig the inner part of your knuckles deeper into the mat. Beautiful. Good. Now we'll see if we can kind of switch that around. So fingertips back toward the knees, and then start rocking back. You can continue to rock, or you can just kind of hold this. Find that nice stretch into the wrists. Breath is always fluid. Beautiful. And you can kind of sit back onto the heels, shake the wrists out. All right, so we've warmed up the wrists, we've warmed up the hips as well. We want to make sure that we feel warm coming in to our crow. We're going to get ready to come back into our Malasana. Again, this is the way that I like to practice Malasana, or practice entering Malasana. But the idea is that the more that you practice your crow, the better your Malasana will be, and the better your Malasana is, the better that your crow will be also. So it's vice versa. The better your crow, the better your Malasana. The better your Malasana, the better your crow, and the better your handstands, etc. So crow, Malasana are so essential that you want to practice them almost every day, at least Malasana. So we'll get ready to come back into Malasana once again. This time I want you to go ahead and grab your block. Just place it close beside you just before we start entering some of these crow drills. Now this first drill, we're not going to use the block. We're just going to practice bringing the knee nice and close to the armpit as we lean forward. So from here, I want you to place palms down from Malasana. Some of you might be something like this, and then you're going to try and hook with the shin. And ideally, that's kind of like the first modified way to come into your crow, is by sticking the toes outward and then you hook like so. So we're going to practice that, but eventually we want to maneuver that and change that so that the toes are facing straight forward and the knee is way up into the armpit, and it's being hooked by the skin at the top part of your tricep. So we'll practice first just this hooking version with the shin to the tricep. So I want you to lean forward, lift the heels, lean forward, and just remember that you're continuously leaning forward as opposed to just hooking and trying to end up somewhere. you have to continuously bring your body weight forward. Bring the crown of your head forward. So continue to lean forward. You're gonna hook left leg, left shin onto the elbow, and then release down. We'll see if we can continue that to each side. We'll do 3 to each side. So left, just one leg, right, left, and right. Okay, and coming back to Malasana. At any time you can straighten the legs if you need to. If you feel like you need a little stretch, go ahead. Now great, we're gonna do the same thing except this time we'll see if we can lift both legs, but we're gonna still continue to lift one foot off at a time. So we're gonna lift left and lift right, and then slowly release. This time I want you to lift right leg first. So again, I'm hooking my elbow and my tricep as low into the shin as I can. Right, then left, and then slowly down. I'm gonna go back over to the other side. Hook, left, then right, and down. Beautiful. So now, instead of doing one foot at a time, I'm gonna try and do both. If you have a hard time with this, just try and do one at a time, or continue to practice one and then the other. Okay? So we'll continue this time. We'll see if we can aim for 3, just leaning in. Remember, move your body weight forward. So again, this is the modified version. Hook your shins, try and keep your feet about hip distance. We're gonna hook both shins and lift them simultaneously into our crow. Okay, and then slowly release. Beautiful. We'll see if we can aim for 2 more. When you're ready. And down. Beautiful. And once again, simultaneous. And down. Beautiful. Great, so that was our modified crow. Now we want to get a little bit deeper into our crow. If we just continue to practice this, then we're not going to find the full benefits for us to use the mastery of crow into more advanced postures like the handstand, or learning how to float, or press up into a handstand. So now we're going to start focusing on really mastering the crow, and I'm going to show you step by step how to master that crow. And a lot of the mastery of crow is how you enter it by Malasana. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab one block. All you need is one block here. We're going to start with the left foot. So I want you to place the block over to the left. You're going to step left foot on top of the block, and then you're going to come down, and you're aiming to get your knee right into your armpit, like so. And I want you to, before you come all the way down into Malasana, I want you to place your palms down and just find that comfortable position. So from here, I want you to start lifting, and we're not going to tuck the right knee in. All I want you to focus on is come into that perfect position with the left side. So I want you to start lifting your heel and then slowly take the foot off. But here, I'm in that perfect position with my knee deep into the armpit. Not here. I want it way up into the armpit. And eventually I want to point the toe. We'll see if we can go for 3 to the left and then 3 over to the right. So dig that knee deep into the armpit, lift. Again, as I lift my foot off, I'm leaning forward. So we can go one more. And drop. Beautiful. We'll move to the other side. So now I'm sure you guys can understand how this is a lot more mobility focused than any strength, because we need that sufficient mobility to get the knee up nice and high into the armpit. So this time right, we're gonna dig the knee right into the armpit, lean forward. Don't worry about the left side. Lean forward. And your foot should, just because you're leaning forward, so you shouldn't feel like you're pulling the foot off. You should feel as though you're leaning far enough that the foot wants to come off on its own. 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. You can take the block out and come back to Malasana. If you feel like you need to stretch the legs out, go ahead, straighten the legs, or stay in your Malasana. Beautiful. So before we continue and try and come into our crow, I'm just going to demo very quickly how I enter it. Again, that mastery of entering the crow. So this is essentially what you want to be doing. You want to try and keep those knees into the armpits as you continue to lean forward. So as I lean forward, I'm going to lift my glutes up. Lift my glutes to position myself. And if I start to move forward and my knee starts sliding down, I reset. So it doesn't mean it isn't bad if your crow starts to look like this, right? It's not bad, but you're not gonna start mastering your crow if you do that. You wanna focus on keeping the knee as high up into the armpit as you can. Lift your glutes up. Lift your heels as high up as you can so that you're coming up not just to the ball of the foot. You can start ball of the foot. Eventually, you want to come to the big toe because, again, I'm not trying to pull my foot off. I'm trying to lean as far forward as I can until the feet come off on their own. So I'm going to place my palms down, lift my glutes, lift my heels, come up to the big toe if I can, and then they naturally just come off. My knees are nice and high up into my armpits. From here, again, mastery of the crow. I'm trying to keep my chest as far away from the floor as I can. So I'm gonna round out my spine. And then I'm also gonna try and gaze forward. Okay. So we'll see if we can play around with that a few times. We'll see if we can lean in. Again, try not to pull your foot off the floor. Continue to move your body weight forward. Lean forward. Draw the crown of your head forward. So we're going to continue. We'll see if we can lean in. 3 entries. Knees right into the armpits. If the knee starts to slide, that's okay. But do your best to try and keep the knees up nice and high into the armpits. Lift your glutes. I'm moving forward. Up to the big toe. You can also start just with ball of foot and then lift and gaze forward. Okay? But eventually you want to come right up to the big toe. So we'll see if we can do another 2 here. Palms down. And you may have to reposition your feet so that you can tuck your knees in a little bit more. Some of you may still have that, or may still have the toes pointed outwards, but you do want to get the toes pointed straight forward. Knees right into the armpits, nice and tucked. Palms down. Lift the heels. And I'm going to continue to move forward, lean forward, and I don't pull the feet off. I continue to lean until the feet come off the floor and I'm gazing forward. And then slowly back down. Beautiful. We'll see if we can aim for 1 more here. Tuck the knees in, palms down, lean forward, lift the glutes, lift the heels, come up to big toe. Beautiful. Good. Okay, so your legs must be tired here. You can just straighten them out, shake them out a bit. Beautiful. So this time what I want you to do is lean forward, lean as far forward as you can. You're gonna lift the feet off and then you're gonna look to tap your wrists and then slowly drop yourself back into position. Slowly drop yourself back into Malasana. So you're gonna lean forward, lift heels, lift the toes, and then from here I want you to tap your wrists and then back down. We'll see if we can do that a total of 3 times. Knees in, lift glutes, lift your heels, come up nice and high, big toe, lift.
guys, thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you enjoyed it that much, please hit subscribe. It means a lot. And if you're someone who's looking to take their practice to that next level, whether you're a beginner looking to simply improve their practice, or even an advanced practitioner looking to fine-tune their practice, head over to B Movement Academy, my own online school of yoga and movement, where you can find all of my premium content and exclusive programs that will meet you every step of the way to meet any of those movement or mindfulness goals. Most light and love. Namaste.